This interview is brought to you by Burn It Up Coaching and the 21-Day Challenge. If you're an entrepreneur or a high achiever, you're feeling stuck, you're spinning your wheels, you're not clear on your purpose, you know that there's a deeper level of success that you can really engage in and tap into, then the 21-Day Challenge is going to get you aligned with your purpose, get clarity on it, break it down into bite-sized steps, dial in your morning and nighttime routines, and really learn how to trust yourself on this journey of success to show up with discipline, with accountability, and succeed at your 21-day challenge goal. So if you're ready to embark on your 21-day challenge, send me a message, chris@beyourgps.com, or find me on Facebook and message me and let me know I'm ready for my 21-day challenge, or ask for more details. Thanks in advance for doing that. I'm looking forward to helping you on your 21-day challenge goal. Next up is the iTunes review of the week. And this week it's by, I believe it's, what is it, Tara something? I'm pulling up. Tara Novan. Tara Novan said, cheering you on. Chris Burns offers a positive, encouraging, and motivational oasis in podcast land. He's genuinely committed, not just to his own success, but to his clients' and listeners' ability to become their greatest possible selves. Bringing in a wide range of voices to reinforce that message, Chris will cheer you on to new levels of success and fulfillment. Dang right I will, Tara Novan. Absolutely. If you want to give us a review, we absolutely appreciate it. Helps more people find out about the show and really just let us know what we are doing really well and what you think could use improvement. We appreciate that. Go to beyourgps.com/iTunes to find us on the iTunes store, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store, and you can give us a review there. Super appreciate it in advance. Thank you so much for helping us with that. I appreciate you. And next, we're going to be introducing the man, the myth, the legend, Jordan, in a bit. Before we do that, though, I just want to remind you that this is going to be a powerhouse interview. This guy is full of wisdom about how to truly tap into yourself, your authentic self, your body wisdom, your spirit and soul wisdom, and he's going to bring the fire. So make sure you have a pen and paper handy, ready to take notes, ready to soak up all the wisdom and the knowledge that he's going to be sharing, and get ready to take those next steps with him so you can continue your journey with him, because this hour is great and it's just the tip of the iceberg. So get ready for some fire, and let's introduce Jordan and then bring him on the show, okay? Jordan Maurice Bowditch is a lifestyle design coach, social media influencer, and event retreat host. He is the bridge between esoteric and the generic, the woo-woo guru and the tangible you. Jordan facilitates elevated connection by creating safe places to not play it safe, incorporating bioenergetics, interpersonal polarity, and social magnetism into his work. He is the co-founder and the COO of the Mystic Misfits, co-founder and CEO of Flow Life, and national edutainer for Bulletproof Nutrition. Jordan did grow up half in California, half in Ohio, a classic half and halfer with Midwest small town roots and Southern California vibes. He lost track of the relatives and friends who housed him through adolescence, which created the chameleon that is Jordan Maurice Bowditch. He is an example of what happens when a village raises a child, and we're absolutely blessed to have him here with us today to rock the house. Jordan, you ready to just like smash it out of the park, brother?
Let's run it, man.
Let's do it, man. Awesome, dude. You're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Thank you so much for being here, man. Super appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, homie.
Yes, awesome. So let's dive right into the theme of the day, which is how to be aligned, man. What does alignment mean to you, and how do you get aligned?
Aligned is something I feel in my body. Once upon a time, it was something that I tried to logically come to a conclusion in my brain. A plus B equals C. Just using those mathematical, logical, rational equations. And that served me well, make no mistake. It's a good 1-2 punch when you got your head and your heart, your brain and your body. But in this season of life, for the past couple years in particular, it's been integrating my body and my sensations, my primal intuition, if you will, my inner knowing. And so that's how I know I'm aligned, is how I feel my body. And it's not necessarily like an easygoing, like mellow feeling. Oftentimes, in fact, more often than not, it's a crazy charge. And some people have labeled that charge as fear, anxiety, nervousness. But I would dare say that maybe it's excitement. because the similar sensations I feel are excitement and fear. Like I don't even know the difference necessarily unless I'm tapped into that alignment and my head and heart are in alignment.
Damn, dude, I love it. So it's like really tapping into the quote unquote instrument that is your body to tell like, hey, is this, what are the signals I'm getting from this thing, and the actions that I'm taking, the environment I'm in, what I'm thinking and feeling, is it aligned, and does it feel like I'm expansive? Does it feel like I'm growing? Does it feel like I'm becoming my greatest possible self, or does it feel like I'm playing small and hiding out and avoiding? And is it like, is there a knot in my stomach that feels like I'm not on purpose with my purpose?
Ooh, I see what you did there.
Yeah, man, it's just like, I love the analogy of like just totally checking into your body, because that's like the best instrument. Like, what our feelings are our indicators of whether or not we're on or off track, man. So great start to this awesome interview, and let's dive in a little bit more to who you are and like what you stand for, man.
Yeah, let's see. Who am I in this moment? In this moment, I'm experiencing sensations. Those ones I talked about before, where I'm feeling some like movement in my chest, a little bit of tightness. My mouth is kind of dry. I imagine it's because I'm like, ooh, I want to show up. I want to like make sure that people think I'm cool, that I'm liked, that I have that wisdom and that epic intro you gave me. By the way, side note, how many buzzwords did I throw into that little... Like I made it a tongue twister, huh?
You did, man. I was like, oh, geez, I'm like butchering this thing, but doing my best.
So I guess what I'm all about, man, and I said it in the bio a little bit, the bridge. Like in the most simplest terms, I see myself as the bridge. I've been bred to be so. My upbringing in adolescence, my experiences moving throughout the country and living with different people, relatives, friends, parents, you know, growing up in the Midwest, a small town, kind of those like G'd up from the feet up type of roots. And then Southern California, Orange County, Real Housewives, big school, a lot of energy, a lot of things. And then being a fraternity at San Diego State and living that whole life, which was a wild experience. All those things, I think, has molded me into somebody who can fit into any setting and connect with almost anyone. And so, yeah, that's what I do. I create more intentional spaces for elevated connection. That's like what I'm most excited about.
Beautiful. Tell us more about elevated connection, and how do you go about creating an intentional space? A little bit more about that.
Yeah. So there's so many different settings and circumstances where this can apply. And it can be as simple as checking out with the clerk at the grocery store, right? We all know that like just like autopilot type of scenario where the clerk asks you, how are you? Oh, I'm good, or I'm fine. Oh, I'm great. How are you? Oh, I'm good. It's okay. It's like, okay. And then it's just kind of like some awkward silence. Right. All right, come on, credit card reader, go faster.
Faster.
Is this thing broken? What's going on here? You know? And then it's just like biding the time until they're like done with that connection. And I've noticed that I can be afraid of connection.
Wow.
You know, it can be a scary thing to be like fully seen and to like not go through the motions of that surface level stuff and to really dig deep. And to use that example, instead of that, like something that I've used, and I got this from a buddy of mine, is how does your heart feel? Which is, it's like a total pattern interrupt, right? And it's like kind of silly and playful. It's not like super serious, but it's sincere, you know? And that's like a nice distinction I like to make. You know, I'm not so serious all the time, but you better believe I'm sincere, which has that element of like silliness to it and playfulness and fun. And I think that's where connection, like the sweet spot is between like silly and sincere. And that sparks a conversation that can be still only, you know, 20, 30 seconds, but you'll notice, or I've noticed, where they're kind of like, it's like short circuits. They kind of like, how does my heart feel? I guess I don't really know how my heart feels, you know? And another one could just be like, oh, what are you grateful for in this moment? Oh, that is like my go-to life hack for connection. What are you grateful for? And that literally like measurably changes brain waves. Like it's an ultimate state change. If like I'm in a low energy place, I'm feeling sorry for myself, I'm having just a rough experience, being mindful of what I'm grateful for, and writing it down, or even better, speaking it or sharing it with someone is like, oh, it feels so lovely. And another quick example I'll give with the gratitude is I've reclaimed prayer. So I grew up, and I think you and I were talking about this the other day. I grew up where, some of those religious Christian roots, and praying over our meal was just something that I did, and it was mindless. It was, Father, in Jesus' name, thank you for this food, bless it to my body, in Jesus' name, amen. Yeah. And there was no connection or feeling or like authenticity behind it. Right. And so what I've done to like reclaim those things that I think are meant for that type of experience is I go around the table with whoever I'm with and share gratitude. Each of us just shares something real quick that we're grateful for. It doesn't have to be a whole production. Like even if it's just me and my girlfriend, we hold hands, we look in each other's eyes, just take a little bit of time to like share some gratitude with one another. Wow. And I sincerely believe that is injecting like good energy into the food that makes it more nutritious to me. Like, I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yes. It like primes your body to receive the nutrients and be able to assimilate them more effectively because you raised your vibration. Your energy is more aligned and congruent. So instead of dealing with like stress and your body trying to fight that, you just shifted it into gratitude and alignment. And it's like, hey, I'm functioning on 100% or whatever else it might be. Like, give me what you got. I'm gonna handle it.
Hallelujah.
Dude, I love this. And I wanted to ask you, because me and my girlfriend, we've been doing it eyes closed for like the last, 5-6 months or so. And doing eyes closed, one of us will say the prayer, so to speak, for the food, to bless the food. I'm curious, did you guys ever try it with eyes closed? And what do you think the difference would be, eyes closed or eyes open?
When my old way of praying, I did eyes closed. Yeah. That was like the process, right? Yeah. And then in a lot of the work that I do, eye gazing is like a piece of it, right? Yes. And a lot of the activities and exercises and workshops, eye gazing is a way to like connect with each other. Yeah. And so that's just kind of naturally been what we do in those settings. But I imagine with the eyes closed, it's more of like a personal experience. Not that it's impersonal or it has that lack of connection with the other person, but I think it's a more inward thing. And I mean, biologically speaking, you're shutting off one of your senses, so the others are heightened. Wow. And so it's a bit, I think all those things at play, it's just a different experience, not necessarily right or wrong. Yeah. Like we actually meditate together most mornings, not every morning, but we do sometimes a little guided meditation, or we'll just go outside, like bare feet on the ground, hopefully get a little sun if the sun rays are out. And that's, again, kind of more of maybe a meditative experience, but also awesome.
Dude, I love that. I want to try, or not try. I'm going to do the prayer and the blessing with the eyes open and see what that experience is like. I'm totally telling my girlfriend, and we're going to give it a shot and see like what the difference is, and see and feel into that, because I think it's also important to have contrast, to change things up, to like not get into that rhythm of just doing the same thing over and over again. And you mentioned eye gazing, and from our conversation earlier this week, like I was saying, hey, I want to do more eye gazing, because that's something that I used to do more intensely. And I think when my relationship first started off with my girlfriend, like I was doing it a lot, and I've noticed that I've kind of been complacent and been like more in the ease of things. And I believe that bringing that eye gazing back, and just for like 20 minutes, just like sit with each other and don't say anything and hold each other's hands and just be present and witness each other's beauty and magnificence and radiance, and stare deeply into our souls and connect on that level, is going to bring so much more spice and trust and just magnificence back to our relationship.
Yeah, it's so powerful, man. Yeah.
Love it, man. So you told us a little bit about your journey, about how you got to where we are today, and I want to focus a little bit more on what were some of those challenges, those wisdom opportunities that you grew through to be able to get to where we are today, specifically focusing on being authentic, because I know you mentioned, being a chameleon was a part of your journey to be able to fit into different places and scenarios. And I know we were also talking about how having those different places also gives you an open perspective and a more awareness of cultural awareness and diversity and stuff like that. So take us back into your journey and tell us about some of those challenging moments and the highlights that had you become Jordan, who's with us today, man.
Yeah. So I suppose a lot of it started I could trace it to many different times, but the thing that's most notable on my mind and heart right now is about 6 years ago, I was post-college, working at classic corporate marketing job, working my way up the ladder. I had like an internship there my last year in college, and then for a couple years after was there, and just doing what I thought I was supposed to do, you know, putting my marketing degree to use.
Yep.
And was in a relationship with my girlfriend of 6 years.
Wow.
P.S. I live next to an Air Force base, so you'll hear like plane flying by right now.
Love it.
And that was coming to an end, that relationship. I was still kind of like stuck in a sense into like college and the fraternity. I actually became like the chapter advisor of my fraternity after I graduated because I loved the brotherhood, the connection, the rites of passages, the initiations. I learned so much in that, and make no mistake, there was a lot of darkness there also. Like there's a big shadow side to all that. Yeah. And I was not evolving and moving into the next iteration and phase of myself. And I woke up one morning after having started reading my first book for leisure. Literally, you know, 24 years old, had never read a book for leisure other than what I was forced to in like high school and college. And even then I probably like mostly did the Cliff Notes or got the answers from a classmate or something like that, you know? And my older brother, he recommended The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss.
Wow.
Kind of a classic personal development 101. And it opened up my mind it like detonated a bomb that was kind of already going off, and it gave some words and clarity to some things I was feeling and sensing. And opened me up to a world that like I was like, oh, there's no turning back now. And shortly thereafter, I negotiated a remote working situation with the company I was currently with, a temporary one, using the tactics from that book.
Wow.
And I sold everything I owned, and I started living out of my car with my dog, my 70-pound blue-nosed pit bull, Biggie James Smalls. I literally have him tattooed on my leg. Actually, I did a podcast the other day, and I lifted it up. Let's see if we can get it in there.
Yes. I love it. That's awesome.
Boy, my firstborn dog son, my right-hand man. He's in the other room right now. And so I started living out of my car with him very much, again, by choice, just as like, I just thought to myself, I need to blow everything up. I need to like really start like living my truest self and like find my purpose. Cause
did you feel like you didn't know like what your roots were and what was of value or importance to you? Or did you have like a dream or aspiration that you're like, hey, I know to get to that, I need to like blow it all up?
I didn't, is the short answer. I had some ideas, but really I was purposeless. And I think in particular as a man, there is like this deep, innate longing for a mission and a purpose. And that can shift and oftentimes usually does throughout a man's life. I'm not to say that a woman doesn't have the same thing, but I think it's even more intense for a man. Totally. And I had purposes up to that point, but I didn't at that point. And so I decided that a way to find that was to like get rid of a lot of my old life, change the setting, and just like shake things up in a big way and see what unfolds as a result of that process. And during that time, I started drinking bulletproof coffee, and I started following the podcast, the blog website. And I was like a big fan of the brand. And my older brother, once again, the kind of like awesome big brother that he is, he's also my best friend, business partner with the Mystic Misfits. He sent me a job description for a junior marketing assistant at Bulletproof, which was a demotion to say the least. But I was like, dude, I will scrub toilets to work for a badass company like that. Like it just felt, it was such a fuck yes, heaven yes in my heart. You know, I just knew it. And so I made a 5-minute video, a funny, like spliced up video of why they should hire me, and got hired from there. And like, that was the pivotal moment when I used my creativity and like my humor in a way that was like very intentional like that. And that sparked like the next 5 years of entrepreneurial endeavors, meeting people all over the world, showing up in a really authentic way, attending retreats and then hosting retreats, and just continue to hone those skills. And life just continued to unfold in a beautiful way and still does.
That's amazing, man. So it's like you were in this position where you didn't know what your purpose was. You kind of blew everything up and you said, hey, I'm going to do a work from home position or work from wherever remote. And then your brother came along with this opportunity and you said, you know what, it may not be like quote unquote a step up in pay or anything like that. And I see a step towards my purpose. I see a step into like my best self. And you took that and like it gave you the opportunity to go around the world and connect with amazing people, go to retreats, and also like master and start mastering like hosting your own retreats. And that's something that else that I told you about that I said was super awesome, is like these amazing people and influencers that you've had, you know, come to your retreats and your guys' retreats. It's like impressive, man. What was that journey like of building the brand to be able to attract those kinds of influential people?
Yeah, so specifically in the context of Mystic Misfit, the Mystic Misfits, which is myself, my older brother, my best friend Kevin, we attended a retreat. Just some people that we admired, and we were just like kind of being mentored from afar a little bit, you know, and we actually met them, this one person in particular, Daniel Eisenman, at the Bulletproof conference, the annual conference. He just happened to be there. Once again, my brother was like a big fan of his stuff. He was part of a group called the Rob Raws, him and his brothers, and he had started a new endeavor called International Tribe Design. And they were hosting a retreat in Hawaii, and it was way too expensive for me. I had no business at that time paying this kind of money. I didn't have the money, simply put, you know? And it was this whole back and forth with my brother and I, where we were just like, we have to go. We can't go. We're going. No chance. Just back and forth. Right. And so finally it was like, no, we're going. It's like, we will figure it out. We're committing to this, even though it's irrational, even though I can't afford it in this moment, we're committing to it, and we're going to figure it out. And we had enough little experiences like that up to that point of just trusting our feelings, our gut, which is so kind of counterintuitive to how we were brought up. Right. Again, with that like kind of religious influence, is like, don't listen to your feelings. Your feelings are wrong. And I'm not, you know, saying feelings are end all be all by any means, but feelings are there for a reason. I believe God gave to us as a signal. They're like the emotions of the soul. I've heard that kind of thing said. And so going to that retreat, this guy, JP Sears, was there, who I think you're familiar with. And I'm sure a lot of your listeners are. And he's, you know, several years later has become a close personal friend. And, you know, he was just kind of getting started then. And there were other handful of people there that were just like magnetized to this experience. And fast forward a few years later, we've done many collaborations and co-facilitations with that group. And it just continues to open doors to other people. And being at that experience, that in-person retreat with those core concepts of like radical honesty, raw, authentic communication, the body psychotherapy, bioenergetics type of stuff, like engaging in all of that in this like sacred container, going through that like initiation with this group of people. I mean, I accomplished in a few days what I think it takes most people several years. And so that's when it became clear, okay, the mission, or a big part of the mission and the purpose, is to like host these kind of experiences.
So you had the gift of like almost being you were hosting events for your fraternity, right? And you got that experience of like holding positions there and being someone of influence and leadership there. How does someone who hasn't necessarily had that experience and is, let's say, starting off in the online world, building their brand, step up to that level of capacity and succeed at holding space for like big retreats or you know, sizable, powerful retreats that make a difference and truly transform people's lives?
The old adage that's coming up for me right now is it's simple but not easy. There are so many opportunities, and really what it comes down to is feeling the fear and doing it anyways. And so a big way that started for me was just simply doing Facebook Lives. You know, that is a great tool at our disposal. It's just like a way to press the button, it goes live, and you're broadcasting to anyone and everybody that's watching, just like we're doing right now. And I found through that process, man, my heart would start beating, dude. Like, I'm going to be seen. I don't know who's going to see this. What if I mess up? What if I say something stupid or whatever? And the more I just committed to that process and like had higher and higher stakes, like I used to and still do sometimes, go live on airplanes. And I would I did like shared gratitude with the pilots. I fly Southwest all the time, and I'm like a big fan of that brand and of like their ethos. And on Thanksgiving, I went to the cockpit and shared gratitude with the pilots. I've done Christmas carols coordinated on the plane. And so like doing things like that. And another piece would be asking for what I want and not being attached to getting it. Like getting so used to feeling that fear of rejection and either getting rejected, which is not that bad, or being surprised and getting what I want. And committing to that over and over again, in any and every scenario, whether it's seemingly small and minuscule or the bigger ones, that has led to the confidence and the opportunities and the leadership that I'm experiencing today.
Damn, that's so amazing, man. And I hear it's like commit to the process, commit to the small things, especially when they're just beginning. People are just beginning on their journey of like being a host or a provider or someone who steps up and holds that space. Like really step into that. Every step counts. Every action counts. Everything that I do to like move the needle forward that makes me become more of this person who can be in front of, let's say, thousands of people and keep my cool and you know, like be able to deliver an amazing experience or, you know, facilitate an incredible transformation, whatever that is. It starts off with, hey, what can you do today? What can you do today to move yourself out of your comfort zone? What can you do today to ask, to make yourself like almost vulnerable to like to the pain of rejection that people are so afraid of? And then we get like, then we learn how to transmute that pain into like power and be able to like go take on bigger and bigger things.
Absolutely, man. And like, you know, there's more tactical things. Sure. You can go to Toastmasters. You can like, there's many things, right? Yeah. But another thing I would say is it's proximity. Like, so I surrounded myself with people that were doing what I wanted to do, that were like embodying the qualities that I admired. And so I just kept going to those until eventually, not too long because I was doing it, I just became like this retreat junkie. I started to like build those skills and get like more comfortable with like exercising that and getting those opportunities.
Right. Yeah, that's so powerful, man. So as far as like the chameleon, I really wanted to dive into that because I think that's something that a lot of people relate with, is like wanting to fit in. And especially in our online world, it's like, well, you know, I see other people doing this, so I might as well do something similar, model success, that kind of thing. I'm curious, like, what is your wisdom on that in being able to see things from multiple perspectives and also creating your own voice in that you know, process? How did you do that?
I mean, there's a lot of different ways, right? Like the most simply put, it would be like exposing myself to a variety of situations, whether that's like, you know, joining a local social club or sports team, right? Maybe like softball. I did that when I was like shortly after college, and I had never played baseball growing up. That was one of the few sports I never had like engaged in. And so playing softball scared me because it was like, I don't know how to play. Like I'm not good. But I met different kinds of people and I had different experiences. And so doing that and even just like, you know, taking a different route home from work, it's like a silly example, but it's just like doing different things all the time. It like sharpens that skill, that like soft skill in a sense of adaptability. So yeah, that would be like at the most baseline level, that would be it.
Yeah. So it's like you adapt, and then how did you know what was truly your voice? Like who is Jordan really? How did you like get grounded in who you are?
Yeah, I would say a big part of that is the concept of flow states. And so getting into flow, finding what it is that lights you up and like committing to doing that often. Right. And for me, there's a few different things, but the most notable one is basketball. Basketball is like my passion. When I'm playing basketball on a consistent basis, I'm in my power and I experience flow. Right. And like there's like very technical work around flow. Like there's a book written called The Rise of Superman, Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheel at the Flow Genome Project, where they're going into like the neurochemical biological science behind all this, but more commonly known as the zone. That's like what a flow state is. Oh man, he or she is just in the zone. Like they can't miss a shot, you know? And finding those sweet spots for yourself, that's where the creativity and these new ideas and this like sense of self both gets lost and gets found, kind of paradoxically speaking. Another way I found that, like one of the bigger catalysts for my creativity was we did a bungee jumping. We didn't even call it a retreat then, but it was like, it kind of turned into a mini retreat. There was about 10 of us. This was like 4 or 5 years ago. It's called the Bridge to Nowhere in Northeast Los Angeles. And we did like a hiking, camping, bungee jumping experience. And that exposure to something very physically scary, where like literally like my insides were going nuts, you know, and living to talk about it, like, you know, I'm facing certain death, jumping off a bridge. Evolutionarily speaking, our bodies are not equipped to experience that and live to talk about it.
Right.
And so it creates this like supernatural afterglow, I guess you could say. And after that, man, I found that my voice, specifically in the context of writing, and this is like where Mystic Misfit first started, was just as a blog website. And basically right after this experience, I had so much creativity with my writing that I couldn't stop. For weeks after, I was just like, boom, boom, boom. Just the words were flowing out of me, pun intended, flowing out of me. And now one thing I'll say though, is like a flow state is best experienced when you're on the cusp of something that you are capable of, but it's maybe just out of your reach. So it's like the comfort zone, right? It's outside of your comfort zone, but it's not so far out of it that it's like unrealistic that you can even do it or accomplish it. Like, you know, if I'm not a skateboarder and I try and jump a 20-foot gap on a skateboard, I'm probably going to eat shit and hurt myself, you know? But if I'm pretty good and I've done, 10 steps and I jumped to 20, that's scary. I might not do it. Like I might not land, but I'm going to try it because I think I can. Like I'm like good enough to where I think I can. And so doing those kinds of things, that's when I feel that energy of flow and like my authenticity, creativity, my sense of self really emerges.
Dang, that's awesome, man. Like, what would you say is the biggest thing that impacted your vision of who you could become in the world?
The biggest thing that impacted my vision. Yeah, let me let that marinate for a second. That is a big question. Like I've touched on different pieces of it. I would say community. And I kind of touched on this before, but it's proximity of people that I'm inspired by, that I admire, that like will mentor me, whether that's, direct or more, from afar, where like a podcast that I really like this, like that helps to like expose me to ideas and to people, because I've heard the saying, there's no new ideas, right? It's just a bunch of old ideas that come together in a unique way. And when that lateral thinking comes into play, like in a flow state where all those things come together in this like new way, that's where like a vision emerges that's different. It doesn't have like any elements individually that are like so different than anything else, but the unique way they're put together. And that's the way that's happened most notably for me is community. The joy I experienced within that. And like the accountability, like I have so many accountability buddies. I have a coach also that I pay a lot of money to coach me. And like, I remember when I told my dad, he was like, what? How much did you pay this guy? What is he doing for you? Well, he's my life coach. He's like, and my dad's like, I'll be your life coach. Like, what does that even mean? Like only really get it. Really community, I would say is the big one for me.
What would you say is like your stretch area that you're like really growing into in 2019? What are you stretching and expanding your capacity? What area or what skills or what abilities are you really challenging yourself to grow in?
Like at a more high level, it is stepping into my sovereign leadership. In different settings and on bigger stages. Up until this point, it was the fraternity. It was and is the Mystic Misfits. And on the one hand, that has been beautiful, and like I'm still going to do it and am doing it and excited about it. But there is a dilution, so to speak, of my individual power that if I allow it to, and it's seductive, it's insidious, because when there's three of us, one person can hide a little bit, which it's some of the beauty, right? Because the dynamic element of the three people being able to like play off of each other is like its own special, beautiful thing. But in addition to that, I found that I really am best served if I have individual opportunities for leadership, because then it's all on me. There's different stakes. There's a bit more pressure. There's more, there's just more energy sometimes, depending on the setting. And so that's a big one for me, is stepping a bit more into that sovereignty. And a new endeavor that's like supporting that is my girlfriend and I, we have started a brand called Flow Life earlier this year, and that's going to be like elevated festival experiences where we have a fully curated camp. It's kind of like a retreat style vibe meets a music festival. And it's once again, bridging that gap. And so bringing like my retreat skills, workshops, experiences, my fraternity type of having fun and throwing a damn good party, and like marrying those into one experience where I am like the keeper of that space. That's a growth edge for me for sure.
Dang, that's awesome, man. And I hear that like in the community, you found power, you found self-discovery, and you found support, like to be your greatest possible self, to evolve. Because like there's so many dynamic elements of that. There's so much, accountability. There's so much like what's possible because I'm seeing what's possible, what these other people are either achieving or saying is possible for me in my life, for you in your life. And then there's the aspect of like, hey, if I'm going to be the king of my kingdom, so to speak, in my life, right? Like that's such a huge area I'm stepping into as well, is like being the father of my vision, right? And there's like a unique seed that I can plant into the world, which is my purpose, my voice. And that, like when there's other people who are coming together at the same time with my voice, it, like you said, it can dilute it. It also can amplify it and modulate it so that it becomes even something completely different, which is awesome. And there's a vulnerability in having your own voice that you speak into the world that is standalone. Take it or leave it.
Yeah, there's different seasons of life for all of it, and I think it's just checking in with yourself and determining where you're at. I noticed that I was starting to get really nervous to do Facebook Lives by myself. Wow. I started like kind of a lot of this journey doing that, but then I started doing that, a lot of them with my girlfriend, with my buddies and the Mystic Misfits. And then I started realizing, I'm not doing them alone very often. And then when I kind of started doing that, I was like, whoa, I'm like kind of like, I'm afraid to do this on my own a bit. Wow. And same thing with like coaching. I've done group coaching with the Mystic Misfits, and I had done a little bit of my own individual coaching. And I had told myself this story that I don't really like it. It's just not something I'm most excited about. And my coach actually gave a really good perspective and a riff on this. He's like, at face value, I don't really like hot yoga. He's like, but I'll tell you what, when I come out of a hot yoga class, I feel freaking awesome. Yeah. He's like, that's what coaching is like for me. Damn. And ever since I've really embodied that and committed to that, now like my coaching practice is thriving and I'm like loving it. Yeah. It's scary. It's like, there's those moments where I'm like, oh, what do I say next? Or like, was that good? Are they getting value out of this? I have those small self like questionings and whatnot. But that's the beauty. That's the growth edge, Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's so awesome. And I think like being aware, self-aware is so important today for any leader to know like what is our growth edge and to constantly be pushing that and challenging that so that we can become more, because that's where that excitement, that's where that fulfillment lies, is challenging that. And it's like scheduling it. Like how do I like actually challenge myself and make it a ritual, a habit to challenge myself. And it's like every time you challenge yourself, it's like you start getting comfortable with whatever you challenge yourself with, whatever that level is. And so you have to constantly like zoom out again, like go meta and say, hey, like, is this still challenging me based on what I've experienced and what I've gone through up to this point? Because there's always going to be something bigger that we can take on. And like you said, it's just knowing where we're at. It's being self-aware as a leader to know if it's, hey, like is the 4 stair the thing that I'm like ready for and challenges me, or is the 20 stair that I have to like jump down and I'm like, okay, like we're doing this, be aware.
That's it.
That's awesome, man. So I know that you also, I saw a video where you jumped into Lake Michigan, like to get like totally freezing cold, and then jumped out, and like that was a challenge, which is super important. Like challenge your body. Like, what do you think are some other aspects that you are going to be challenging your physical capacity in 2019?
Great question, man. So like, speaking specifically to the experience you just referenced, I jumped into Lake Michigan in Chicago in the middle of winter.
Yeah.
Which, that was, it was cold. Let's just say that, like, no shit, right? And that practice in and of itself of cold water immersion, also called like polar plunging, on one level, there's tons of health benefits. Like I'll spare the details, look it up, but just tons of health benefits. And then there's the more like esoteric benefits of like, not even necessarily esoteric, but like the mind over matter. So I've been doing a cold shower every morning for well over 2 years now. Now, the first few minutes are like a warm shower. It's kind of peaceful. I have melodic music, and it's like that kind of thing, easing into the day, kind of meditative and relaxing. But for that last couple minutes, I turned it as cold as it goes. And, depending on where I am in the country or in the world, sometimes it's in Southern California, it's not that cold. It's just like cool.
Right.
In Chicago, it's freaking freezing, man. Like just the regular shower water. And that practice of like, overcoming resistance, priming the day in that way. And I also do like chaotic breathing, like really like intense breathing, sometimes like Wim Hof style. Sometimes it's more like some stuff I've picked up in bioenergetics and Osho active meditations. But so that's one that I want to continue to do and even step up. Like going into Lake Michigan a few weeks ago, that was like a step up from what I had done before. I've never done something quite like that. I've gone to some cold places like Glacier National Park in Montana, so things like that. But also even like more so, some other physical things would be like a Spartan race. I'm not necessarily attached to a Spartan race specifically, like in the more immediate future, but maybe a little bit down the line. I'm delusional enough to think that like I'm in good enough shape and I have a strong enough like mind that I could probably just jump right into that. We'll see. But even just like, those, whatever the ones like leading up to that are, like the Tough Mudder, those kind of things. I've had those on my heart and mind for quite some time and have not done something like that. Even just like something I want to do is more CrossFit classes. I'm not necessarily super into CrossFit. Like I'm not religious about going to a box. Like that community I think is awesome in that practice. But a CrossFit class, no matter how good a shape you're in, that'll kick your ass, man. Those things are intense and difficult and awesome. So yeah, I think just more, well, and a couple others I'll mention, like my older brother has done the 10-day silent meditation retreat.
Vipassana. I did it earlier this year, man.
Did you?
It's like so crazy.
Yeah, it scares the heaven out of me, man. Like, the idea of spending 10 days in like isolation and silence was like, gee, I can't even imagine that. But like, yeah, that's a big one. Psychedelic experiences. I've dabbled in a little bit of psychedelics, but I've never done like intense heroic doses, shamanic led journeys. And so that's the idea of losing control in that process and in that experience. It has been really scary for me, that kind of ego death that a lot of people talk about. I can be very attached to my ego, and so like release that, it's like, oh, then who am I? What am I? So those are a handful of things. Yeah.
That's incredible, man. I love it. And I love that like all of these are in your periphery and in your awareness, they're like on your mind. You're like thinking about them, you're contemplating them. So the more you do this and talk about them right now, it's like bringing it closer into your life. So you're welcome.
Yep, dude. And you just nailed it. Public proclamations, man.
Yes.
That has been a huge thing for me. And it's so awesome having social media and platforms like this to be able to say, hey, my intention is to do this, or I'm going to do this, because then there's like this accountability, right? Even if there's no one direct person that's going to call you on not doing it. It's like, if I've put it out there, I feel this sense of obligation to doing it, and it's in my psyche, in my subconscious, and I'm more likely to do it.
Yeah, man. That's so powerful. I love that. I've used it so much to like just say, hey, here's who I am. It's like the here's who I am, the identity shifting act that you get on camera. Like earlier this year, I was afraid of like talking to women, right? So I said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Santa Monica and I'm going to record a video of myself on Facebook Live asking women for a kiss. Dude, I was like I was like squirming. I was so just squeamish. I was like, oh my God, this sucks, but I had to keep doing it. Like 45 minutes later, I get the first kiss of the day, like, eight women in, and I'm like, cool, man, and then like a month later, I meet the woman of my dreams, and I'm like, that's right, man. That's what happens when you challenge yourself and really like step into that greatest possible self. Like, who is the person who would attract the results that I really seek, I really desire? And it's to put at stake your limits and challenge them and freaking attack them, man.
Absolutely, man. It's no mistake. It's no accident that like things like that happen to us. You finding your like soulmate, so to speak, you know, because you committed to a process of something that was scary. And I've like seen people, heard people, and even said this or thought this myself, like, oh, they are lucky, man. They're just like so lucky. It's like, I'll tell you what, people that are like committed to the process, they seem to have a lot of luck. You know, is that luck or is it just the universe responding? You know, there's a saying that I first heard it in a Nas rap song. Maybe it's like, maybe it was quoted somewhere else, but take one step toward him, he takes two toward you.
Totally.
When all else fails, God supports you. And I love that it says him because we all know that God is a man. I imagine it transcends gender. Right. But that concept I love, right? It's like one step in the direction of your dreams and in this direction of your greatest possible self. And it takes two steps toward you. Even if it's not in the way that you want or imagine or not immediate, it just the aggregate direction is always up and up and forward.
Yeah. I was just talking to Lance right before you, and we were talking about how the fruits of our labors, sometimes we don't even see them right away. You know, it's like the product of what we did 90 days ago is probably now just manifesting. The fruits of our labors is like we can't even see what we're doing, what we're shifting, what we're energetically, you know, commanding into our reality by our action, by our being and our identity until like, you know, well into the process. So it's like keep it up and keep that momentum up, because like momentum is what really creates that transformation in our life, man.
Amen, brother.
Dude, it's rad, man. So I love this. And as far as like the people and the conversations that you've had, like what would you say is the biggest thing that you had to overcome to like have a authentic conversation with them and not like feel like they're on a pedestal or out of your league? Because I know that was a big challenge for me. I think a lot of listeners and entrepreneurs who tune into the show are like, man, I just feel like I'm this ordinary entrepreneur just starting, not even making six figures yet, whatever else it might be, and like there's these amazing people. How can I get their attention? How can I be, you know, in the same arena as them? I'm curious, did you ever go through anything like that? Or did you always feel like, man, this is my community, these are my people, and like I belong here?
Dude, no, absolutely. I've gone through that and I continue to go through that. The stakes just get higher and the game gets more fun, you know? And it's like, it's putting in the reps constantly. It's some of the things I already talked about, proximity, like putting myself in proximity of those people, like showing up in a bigger, more unique way, being creative, like again, doing that, asking for what I want, not being attached to getting it. I'm just continuing to do that and to go bigger and to like understand that like it doesn't stop. I think that there was a part of myself once upon a time that was like, oh, it's going to get easier in a sense, or it's going to like I'm going to get it someday. Right. And as soon as I get it, I don't have it anymore. You know? Going and it keeps getting bigger and better and more awesome and more scary, and it's like just keep going. But you know, for somebody who's like just getting started in a sense, it's like you just got to start and you can't stop. You know, and that's not to say like what I do not subscribe to is the like hustle, sleep when you're dead, like all that kind of stuff. It's like no, it's not about that. It really isn't. But it's about showing up. And dude, being authentic is not hard. Like it's really not. It's the most natural thing imaginable. The problem is all too often there's this like tendency to think like I need to impress people. I think the people that are most authentic and are like the most vulnerable are the most impressive to me. Like some of my best friends, I'm like in awe of how they show up so real all the time, no matter what's going on.
Damn, that's amazing, man. And it's true. It's like having that sense of self and just like, what's my next step? You know, what's my next step that I can take right now, and not being attached to the answer, not being attached to the response of someone who we look up to. And I think a big thing also that helped me is like remembering that they're human too. Like that they have conversations and they are, you know, seeking something. They have needs, they have challenges just like we have. So they're human too. They go to bed, they, you know, sit on the shitter just like us. Like they do these things too, right? And to remember that is like so powerful. And what you said about proximity is so powerful, because like hearing other people achieve these things. Like my girlfriend, she started interviewing like amazing people with like millions of followers and subscribers and earning millions of dollars. And I'm like, dude, like I want that level of, impact in my life and in with our guests. And I'm like, okay, so who do I have to become? Well, I have to become someone who doesn't care what their response is. And I'm just like taking freaking action, massive action every day and contacting them. And, one of the people who came on your show, I reached out to someone I've looked up to for a long time. So, it's just like being in proximity of awesome people like you, Jordan, has people like spread their wings and be willing to take bigger action. So I also wanted to say thank you for being that vessel and that channel for people to get either information that they need, inspiration, guidance, or open up connections and opportunities, because you are channeling that. And like I said to you earlier, like I'm thanking you as one person, and because I'm thanking you, I know it's happened way more times than just me. So I really acknowledge you for being that person who makes that happen again and again and again and again. The ripple effect and impact you're creating is massive, dude. It's incredible.
Thank you, homie. My heart chakra is exploding, metaphorical blood all over this microphone. Something else I want to say that was coming up while you're talking is like, here's a great philosophy that people can try that's like pretty tangible. I've used this quote, anti-game is the best game. And so in the context of dating, and it doesn't have to be just dating, but like think of it in the context of dating or hitting on a girl or hitting on a guy. What if you were to say exactly what you're thinking or feeling, or exactly what you think you're not supposed to say? So an example is like going up to a girl and be like, I was sitting over there and I think you were so beautiful. And I was trying to think of like the coolest thing I could say to you. And I almost wasn't even going to come over here because I felt like I didn't have anything good enough. So here I am, wanted to say hi, like, you want to chat for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Like I've done that kind of thing. And it's like, it's the most authentic, awesome thing. And it is like, people love that. It's so refreshing, man. So yeah, that would be some serious advice I would drop on some people. And another thing I would say is being so present with someone. This is a practice we have at our retreats, is we tell people like when everybody has an opportunity to be seen, maybe there's like a prompt and somebody goes in the middle of the circle and shares their heart. We encourage people to not think about what they're going to say. Don't sit there and start rehearsing what you're going to say so that people will think you're cool and you'll impress everyone. Just be so present with that person so that when you come, everybody else is present with you, and whatever is most real in that moment will just come out of you. And it's funny, like I didn't even take a dose of my own medicine because like while you were talking, I was like being present, but I also was like thinking about, I want to make sure I say this. And so it's like an art and it's a dance, Right. And I find that the people that are best at it can do like kind of both at the same time. And that's where practice comes into play once again.
Yeah. And especially like when you are creating content, having conversations in a publicized, like it's being published, it's being recorded, it's being watched, it's like you have to do both. You can't not do both, right? Because it's like, okay, so you're just talking and I'm like totally either spacing in my own head, that doesn't work, or I'm totally like enraptured in yours and I'm like, wow.
Exactly, right?
Like I think that there's a time for that, like when it really like lands, like do it, soak it up, like be like really give people the credibility that they are making that difference. It is landing like that, because that's super awesome, man. So we're beginning to wrap it up, Jordan, and we want to know like final pieces of wisdom that you want our audience to receive because of this interview, man. What is it?
Yeah, so I guess a big thing that's come up on this is proximity. Get into the energy and both, the virtual energy, but as important, if not more important, the very physical proximity and energy of people that you admire and that you aspire to be like or to emulate or embody in some way. So that would be one. Another one would be to get into the body. I think that our society has like really glorified our brains. We've created some miraculous, beautiful stuff in this world. Like the accelerated growth of technology and of the world is like, holy shit, man. You look back 10, 20, 30 plus years, like, whoa, look at where we've come using our beautiful minds. And I think that the balance now is to like tap into the heart's wisdom, because the body is the mind. And I think a lot of the reason why we see a lot of sickness in the world and dis-ease is because we are like ignoring the body.
Totally.
And we're so like, attached to the mind. So getting into the body, and that's where the concept of bioenergetics comes into play. And like, there's a lot of very like technical things that bioenergetics represents, but it's also an umbrella for anything that's embodied. Yoga, breath work, basketball, sports. It's just like every day, I so strongly encourage people to multiple times a day get into the body, do something, and do it like consistently throughout the day. So that would be a couple, a couple more specific ones that come up is like bulletproof coffee, dude. Like, shameless plug in a sense. I work with a company, but like that has had such a notable impact on my overall health, well-being, my sharpness, the way my mornings start, getting those healthy fats to fuel my brain and body instead of like carbs and sugar.
Yep.
It's so satiating, and it's just like, oh yeah, that fuels me properly. And then the last one I'll say that's coming up, that's like I've recommitted to, is not having my cell phone in my bedroom before I go to bed, and not looking at it at least 1, preferably 2+ hours into my day.
Wow.
Not having that distraction and like encouraging that reactivity has been really meaningful for me, and has had a huge impact.
Totally. Ditto, man. My girlfriend and I have been doing our best. She's way better at it than me, and I totally resonate with the keeping the phone. We keep it in our bathroom, away from the bed, like away, and then spending the first hour of the day for us, it's like meditation, journaling, reading, like getting into that state of, hey, like I'm not in a rush, there's not all this stuff to do. Like that's not what I need to be thinking like first thing in the morning. It's like, hey, let's start off with peace and getting grounded and centered in our practice and in our body, in what's truly important to us, which is, growing at a pace that's like, this feels good. We're doing it right. We're like growing. So I think that's super awesome, man. And those were amazing tips. And I know our audience definitely wants to stay connected with you, Jordan. How do they do that? What's the next steps for them, my man?
That's always such a funny question. It's like, just look my name up. Social media, I'm probably most active on Facebook, definitely Instagram, Jordan Bowditch, the Mystic Misfits. We're always up to shenanigans from a conscious place, of course. And then what I mentioned also is the Flow Life that I'm really excited about. We're going to be going to Bonnaroo in Tennessee, a really renowned music festival. And that's going to be our first experience around that. And then I do life coaching as well. And so any of those mediums, and once again, search my name, you'll find me.
Love it, Jordan. You're an incredible human being, man. Love that we're connected at this stage and phase of the journey, and it just is going to keep getting better and better, man. I appreciate you, and thanks for coming on. Everyone who's listening or watching, definitely stay connected with this guy. Big things to come. If you want to expand yourself, you want to tap into your authenticity and truly become your GPS, Jordan's the man who can help you do it. Thanks so much for coming on, man.
Thank you, homie. Appreciate you.
We'll see you soon, okay?
Peace.